and the state of the energy. Where are we right now? Well, last time we met, we were at the solstice, and that was we were finishing up a period of intense transition, and now we are entering, or sort of knee deep actually, in winter. And in Vedic tradition, we call that the Kapha dominance season, and that's when the elements of earth and water are at their dominance. And this is a time that is particularly characterized by cold, as we can tell, or coolness, um, wetness and dampness. And in many places, this wetness and dampness becomes mass because it is cold, and it becomes snow or slush or ice. It's a gently growing kind of energy. So in the human body, our period in our life when kapha is dominant is from conception to our early 20s, when our really primary job is to grow our bodies, our minds, our spirits. Kapha also is associated with sort of depressed feelings and sedentary and sluggish feelings. It's clearly associated with accumulation. So in that period of our life when kapha dominates, we are accumulating mass. And at this time of year, water tends to accumulate in the form of snow. Adipose tissue tends to accumulate on our bodies. So things sort of build slowly, working towards something. It's an enclosed time, but it's also a nurturing time. And it certainly is more of a predictable time than the transition time that we just left, which was air and space. So in our human bodies, in the world, when the kapha element or the earth element is balanced, we're all these things. We're calm, we maintain healthy boundaries, stamina, follow through, strong bones and muscles. Overall, we have a sturdy constitution. These are a lot of the terms that I laid out for the grounding. Okay, these are when things are going well with this element. But of course, like any combination of elements, the earth element can get out of balance pretty easily. And if in the human body, it becomes out of balance based on how we interact with the element, how what we are born with, all sorts of factors. But we can directly affect these imbalances. And for most people, this time of year, the earth element, when it's out of balance, tends to be in excess. And so when the earth element is in excess, we tend to be dull and depressed, so it's associated with depression. Unmotivated, uninspired, stuck in a rut, emotional dependency, stubborn, sluggish digestion. We tend to overeat. We have weight gain, low muscle tone. Things are stagnant. And in a physical sense, we get things like bone spurs. And this really, I'm sure all of you can identify with at least one of these things that you've experienced that tend to be more prevalent in the winter because things slow down so much. And then if the earth element is deficient, it's just the opposite. So where excess earth energy is associated with increased mass, deficient earth energy is associated with less mass, low muscle mass, little to no body fat, weakness, restlessness, a lot of the things that I talked about during that transition time, the Vata season. Okay, it's sort of the opposite, but I will mostly talk about earth in excess today. So from a Vedic perspective, earth often accumulates in the cavities and spaces in our body. And the cavities and spaces are the space element, the air and space element that we've been talking about. So in the chest, the lungs and the gut. Mucus often accumulates, and I know so many people have had colds and flu, and it sounded like some of you were either in the midst of a cold or just getting over a cold. It's very common this time of year. And earth element can accumulate in the blood vessels in the form of deposits. Slow digestion is literal food accumulating in the stomach, abdomen, the colon. In our minds, there's a lot of spaces up in the mind, in the brain. We tend to accumulate sluggish thinking, we can become complacent, again, depressed. Earth can accumulate in the joints where we have our aches and pains, where it constricts the air element. And in the skin, itchiness tends to increase in the winter. And that's a result of the fire element being blocked in the pores. So there's a direct relationship between this air and space and the earth and some of these winter ailments that we're all experiencing. And this accumulation in our spaces manifests as illness, right? Colds, depression, flu, insurrections, homelessness. And these illnesses tend to linger because Earth is slow moving. And I did say things like insurrections and homelessness, these sorts of things, are a byproduct of energetic malaise. And I say that because I want to remind you that we are made up of three bodies. And this is really, when I say three bodies, this is at a most basic. There's many, many subdivisions within these in the Ayurvedic tradition and in a lot of other traditions. But at its most basic, we have our physical body, and that's anything that we can touch or feel. Our bones, our muscles, our skin, our hair, fingernails, all those are part of our gross body. And then we have the subtle body. And again, that's that energetic body that we all possess. From Vedic perspective, it can best be visualized in the chakras. We have 5 chakras. I'm sorry, we have 6 chakras. And there are many other nodes in our body with energetic properties, but the chakras are basically the simplest and easiest to visualize, and they run up the center of the body. But if you think in terms of Western terms, we have the electrical impulses that go through our body, such as our heartbeat, our brain function. We are able to measure even very subtle pulses in our fascial tissue. So all throughout our body, there's a lot of energetic activity. And this subtle energy radiates out of our body. And it actually can be measured now. And if you put your arms straight out from finger to finger, this is sort of Leonardo da Vinci style, from finger to finger, that's about how far modern technology has been able to visualize our energy. And I tend to think it keeps going, but we just can't photograph it. And all this energy that we generate makes a big universal soup out there in the real world, because all beings have energy and subtle energy. And it's that energetic soup that makes up the universal body. So by paying attention to our physical body, and we are consequently caring for our subtle body, our energetic body, which then helps us care for the universal body. So it's in everybody's interest for us to figure out how to take good care of our bodies. And one good approach is to think of our bodies and our lives from the perspective of resilience. Now, resilience is a a term that we're hearing a lot of lately, but and people are sort of bantering it around. But it's helpful to understand how, at least some theory about how resilience works. And first of all, the definition of resilience is at its most simple, the ability to maintain good health amidst great adversity. And this comes from the American Journal of Public Health in 2008. So there's nothing exotic about it. It's the ability to maintain good health. And by health, I mean mind, body, spirit. So I'll try to explain this. This is, some of you have heard me talk about this before. We'll see how it goes today. Resilience. Okay, some people will tell you, and it tends to be thought of in the general public, that resilience is something you're born with. That guy's resilient, that guy isn't. And oh, they're born resilient. But in fact, resilience is a function of both nature and nurture. And the example I'm going to use is in the picture here on the slide. Person on my left here has the red lightning bolts pointing into them, and then this orange arrow, or I guess I'd call it an arrow pointing down, as does the person on the right. Now, the person on the left has a bigger arrow pointing down to them than the person on the right does. And I'll get to that in a minute, but the lightning bolts represent the stressors. We are all subject to stressors. These are things that our body recognizes as being either dangerous, inappropriate, anything that really upsets our homeostasis. And so our body reacts to that. And it reacts to that by, we've talked about this before, either adjusting or fleeing and fighting. So ideally, we want our body to adjust if we're going to be resilient. Now, the arrows that I have above these people represent capacity. Think of those as a big tank or a gas tank that fills with an elixir that I'm going to call resilience fluid. And this resilience fluid gets released into our bodies when we are subject to stress. So the person on the left has a big tank of resilience fluid. The person on the right has a small tank. So the natural inclination is to think the person on the left is more resilient than the person on the right. However, as we respond to stressors, physical, emotional, environmental, mental, our elixir gets released into our bodies to calm us. And so looking at the picture, we think, oh, the person on the right's in big trouble because they don't have any elixir left because they have such a small container. But the one piece of this puzzle, the nurture piece, the piece that we have control over, is how often and how that elixir gets refilled. So periodically, we have to figure out a way to refill this tank. So looking at the picture, you think, oh, the person on the left's in a lot better shape. But the problem is that the person on the left is real busy. So they just put a little bit of elixir in their container, where the person on the right fills the container up, however they do that. And so then more stressors continue to affect the lives of these people. And now the person on the left who didn't bother to fill their tank completely is now in a more difficult position than the person on the right. And the tricky thing about this is that as your resilience elixir starts to run out, it makes it more and more difficult for you to refill that tank. And so the person on the left continues to experience the same stress as the person on the right, but they don't bother to refill their container, and they are out of elixir, and they are on the path to burnout. So what is this recharging or refilling all about? It's that piece of resilience that helps us to bounce back. If we are able to keep this tank full and vibrant, we will then be able to better bounce back. So what's in this elixir and what's the idea around this? It's basically taking care of ourselves. Okay. If we continually pay attention to taking care of ourselves, our minds, our hearts, and our bodies, we will better be able to refill this tank that we have, regardless of how big it is. So in our minds, we need to create space. We need to shift our thinking. We need to learn to digest our emotions, take care of our heart center, offer ourselves some compassion. And then generally for our bodies, we need to take care of ourselves. So to build this resistance, this resilience, which I think of as sometimes resistance right now, and taking a look at self-care, some of the key aspects of this are paying attention to what food we put in our bodies, how we move, and something that we talked about earlier, which is connection. So to eat for the earth element, so I'm going to sort of shift back. We need to pay attention to what we put into our bodies if we're going to be resilient. And if we are dealing with excess earth, in other words, we've really slowed down, we need to speed things up a little bit. I would suggest you increase eating more green leafy vegetables, fewer heavy foods, eat warm foods, keep your body warm because kapha is cold. And so you want to apply the opposite. Eat fewer sweets, less animal protein, fewer oils, basically lighten it up. If you're deficient, you want to go more to the heavy side, eat earthy foods. And I will take this slide and put it out on the website so that you guys can look at it later if you're interested in it. And from a Vedic perspective, the most direct pathway to our earth element, kapha, is through our lifestyle choices. And because of the nature of kapha, because it is solid mass and food is solid mass, the food we eat particularly matters. So if you find yourself putting on weight in the winter, which is not unusual, some is fine, but I mean, if you feel like you're putting on more than you want, you then want to reduce your kapha a little bit and pay attention to what you eat. I'll put this out on the website, but there's a whole lot of grains you can eat. You don't have to just give up all starches to balance your earth element. The grains to favor are on the left, all sorts of things you can try. And the ones to avoid if you want to reduce your kapha are things that are wetter and heavier. Stay away from pasta, stay away from rice, although you can eat basmati rice and it tastes almost the same as white rice. And then you need to create some space for healthy digestion and elimination. So you want to remember that Earth is filling up spaces. So you need to create space so that Earth can manipulate its way out of your body. So allow some space and time for your digestion between meals. Limit snacking if you need to reduce your kapha. This is a good time to introduce probiotics. If you want a recommendation, talk to me offline. And very importantly, we need to start digesting our feelings. And to do this, I suggest intentional meditation. I know I often suggest, getting started with just doing some contemplation. In the environment we're in now, I'm changing that recommendation to intentional meditation because contemplation without structure can really lead to a rumination and a downward spiral, whereas meditation is designed to create an upward spiral and help to uplift us. And I would recommend Insight Timer as an app to access good collection of meditations. There's a link to it out on the website, and I may move it up higher so you can find it. And then, of course, again, I think Molly was the first one to mention connecting with others in meaningful ways. And now is the time to start speaking the truth. That is, don't, even about people you don't like, it's not a good idea to spread rumors or make things up. verify information you hear before you start spreading it. And then speak your truth, speak from your heart, speak from your soul. And we're in an environment, I think, where things are in such flux that nice is no longer enough. Um, we need to be steadfast and we need to be clear. And this is the time to begin to reduce the small talk and establish meaningful connections. And I think this is also a really good time to start exploring our connection to the generations, our connection to those people who came before us, and our connection to those people who will be carrying the mantle after we're gone. It's those connections that allow us to truly digest life so that we can uplift ourselves, all three of our bodies, and consequently others. So, in terms of digesting your emotions, this comes back to why I think meditation is a better approach right now in this environment than just contemplation. Excuse me, the emotional soup that accompanies stressors really can generate negative stories about ourselves, about the world, about others, and they go on, and they're no longer useful. I encourage everybody to take some time off. I'm not saying to go diving in and running off half-cocked, but processing our emotions allows us to halt this rumination and allows us to really explore what's really going on so we can make intelligent choices. And truly, this changes our brain chemistry so that then we become more resilient moving forward. So this idea of digestion of our emotions, a digestion of our food, really is a key part of resilience. And so, from a meditation point of view, I just want to stress that there really is more than ample evidence that shows that meditation is really an effective treatment for reducing the stressors, i.e., increasing our resilience, reducing anxiety, reducing depression, all these things that accompany life and lead to chronic illness. And again, I'm beginning to now think of chronic illness as not just in the body, but in the universal body as well. And another pitch for meditation. I'm not a Zen person, but I like this proverb. You should sit in meditation for 20 minutes a day unless you're too busy. Then you should sit for an hour. Great advice. And finally, I again take some time off, uh, process these emotions, but please start doing these things in a timely manner. Remember that like increases like and opposites balance. And I want to remind you that this kapha season goes all the way through the winter and then all the way through spring. At some point, it starts to mix up a little bit with some of the other elements, but it's a long season. And think of the time in your life when you're when you're dominated by the earth element. That's when you're a child to your 20s. You're growing and growing and growing. And if we don't do this in a timely manner, all this malaise that we're feeling and experiencing will simply grow and grow and grow, and it'll be more and more difficult to affect change as we move forward. And of course, just a little bit about movement. I mean, this is the time of year when if you can talk yourself into going outside in the cold, vigorous activity really is good. This is the one time of year I'll say it's good to break a sweat. Not the summer, but now it is. And then always remember to protect your bones. I think of the bones and the bone marrow as the most fundamental form of kapha in our bodies. And as we age, our kapha element starts to disintegrate basically slowly. And but that doesn't mean it's that we have no control over it. Remember, we're resilient. We can build our strength by doing weight-bearing activities, and they make a huge difference in our bone strength and frankly, in our muscle strength. And finally, Leave your comfort zone. Comfort is a great thing. And I'm not telling you to spend your whole life being uncomfortable, but it's easy to get too comfortable and shift into depression. So consider leaving your comfort zone because you will feel more grounded and energized. You'll sort of push the kapha a little bit, and you'll be uplifted from this experience, regardless of what the results are. So do things that make you joyous. Um, and go out and talk to people you might not otherwise talk to. And then imagine a world that's filled with calm, where everybody knows how to maintain healthy boundaries, where we feel safe and stable, where our government is reliable, where we have stamina, follow through, that has strong bones and muscles. Imagine an earth and a world where we are at peace with life. And finally, His Holiness the 14th Dalai Lama, who is a great supporter of Western science and Western medicine, while at the same time practicing Tibetan medicine, which is very, very close to Ayurveda, and who also, not too long ago, had a knee replacement, says to us, human beings are children of the earth, whereas our common Mother Earth has tolerated our conduct up to now. She is now showing us that we have reached the limits of what is tolerable. So, on that note, I'm going to invite you to make sure you're muted. And if you could turn off your cameras at this point, because I'm going to do the meditation. And if you fall asleep or something, you might not want to be on camera. And I'm going to lead us in an earth, and I call it earth energy connection. I was going to call it macrocosmic orbit, but I don't know that has any meaning to it. So I'm going to do an earth energy connection. I will not have music running during this, but the intention of me choosing this meditation is to help us connect with some of these properties that we talked about earlier. And while I'm talking about reducing the earth energy also has qualities for us that give us strength, groundedness, all those things that we think of as positive qualities are part of the earth element. And so we want to learn to use the earth element to lift ourselves up, because that's what it's there for. So I'm going to invite you, please, to get warm and comfortable, get cozy. And if you're sitting in a chair, resting your feet on the floor, if you're lying down, if you could bend your knees and have your feet touching the surface of whatever you're lying on. And begin to inhale and exhale, paying attention to your breath and slowly relaxing. And now let's shift to inhaling a nice deep breath. And as we make that deep inhale, picturing ourselves creating space in our body. So inhale, creating space. And inhaling again, creating space. And as you create that space, sensing the breath reaching into every space in your body. From the top of your head to the tips of your toes. And one more deep inhale, creating space. And as you exhale, begin to relax gently into that space. And now you shift your attention to your feet and you notice that your feet are beginning to sink a little bit, feel weighted, maybe sinking into soil or sinking into sand as you inhale and exhale. And you can allow your breathing to find a comfortable pace for you. Inhaling as you create space, exhaling as you relax into that space. And you begin to sense your feet gently sprouting little roots as they reach down through the floor to the soil to hold you steady. To inhale and exhale. And these roots begin to reach down through the earth, through the soil, through the rock, shale, all the way down to the magma, to the center of the earth, where they anchor themselves, holding you steady and grounded. And now as we gently scan the body from head to toe, we know that we are supported. So beginning to pay attention to the top of your head, feeling what it feels like inside your head, noticing the spaces. Noticing the nasal passages, sinuses, the ear canals, mouth. And as you come down to the chin, noticing the inside of your neck where the spine meets the skull, and making your way down your back, sensing every little space between your vertebrae. And back up, noticing your shoulders, sensing your shoulders as just floating in space. And shifting your attention through your shoulders, down your arms, to your elbows, all the way down to your fingertips as you inhale to create space. And then exhale to relax. And then down the front of your body, you notice your chest. You may notice the rising and falling of your chest. Noticing what it's like around your heart, sensing your heart center. Making your way down past the rib cage into the solar plexus, down through the sacrum, to your hips. Just curiosity, paying attention to just what it feels like inside your body. You have a gentle curiosity about your own well-being. Noticing where your body is tight, noticing where there's space, where there's solid mass. As you make your way down your thighs, the fronts of your thighs, the backs of your thighs, your knees, your shins, your calves, and your ankles, all the spaces in your ankles, along the tops of your feet, through the tips of your toes, and then underneath your feet, the soles of your feet, the arches, the heels. And as you observe the insides of your feet, you begin to sense a gentle pulsating with each inhale and exhale. And you begin to feel gentle energy rising up from the roots that are anchored in the earth. And you feel this energy with each inhale rising gently through your toes, through the tops of your feet, all the way up your body, filling up the spaces in your ankles. You feel a little bit of warmth. You may associate a color with this energy. As the earth energy fills your legs, you may sense the scent of loamy soil, sand at the ocean beach, and it begins to fill your thighs, fills your sacrum, your buttocks, your hips, and it gently rises. And as it rises, you begin to sense this energy being absorbed through every porous surface, filling every space. Makes its way up through your waist, into your chest, and fills your heart center with warm, grounding energy until it reaches your shoulders, all the spaces in your shoulders, and gently rolls down the back, filling your spine, sensing, and as it begins to fill your spinal column, you feel yourself being lifted up gently. You feel your body more erect as it makes its way up your spine, to your neck, to the back of your skull, around to the top of your skull. Fills your eye sockets, your ear canals, your sinuses. All this earthly energy is grounding you and connecting you to Mother Earth. And you sit completely filled with warm earthly energy as you inhale and exhale. And with each inhale, you feel this energy saturating all your porous surfaces. And as you breathe, you begin to sense this energy pouring out through your pores, through your skin, creating a beautiful halo around your body. Maybe red, green, whatever color, maybe just be white, whatever color comes to mind. And you are bathed in an energetic cocoon. And as you bathe in this cocoon, you rest on these words: deep roots, calmness, I possess healthy boundaries, stability, grounded and centered. I am nurtured and I am nurturing. Reliable. I have stamina and strength, and I'm thoughtful. And I continue to grow as you inhale and exhale. And I am at peace. And as these words begin to saturate your body, you recognize that it's time to shift your attention to your body, to your space. So you give thanks to Mother Earth for supporting you, for nurturing you, as you sense the roots retracting back up through your feet, through all the layers of Mother Earth. And you feel grounded, stable, and at peace. Thanking Mother Earth as you begin your journey back into our space, knowing that at any time you can recharge yourself simply by pausing, breathing deeply, and allowing Mother Earth to send her energy through your body. And when you're ready, gently coming back to our space together. And in a few moments,